An inner child strategy we unconsciously use in our adult life is to reject our needs. We're too afraid to communicate them. It is almost as if we're not allowed to have our own needs met. The needs of others matter, but our own needs do not. If you recognize yourself in this description, in this video, I will help you realize why this pattern developed in your life and how you can heal it. So in life, in responding to various situations we find ourselves in, we often react from a younger part of ourselves. This is sometimes referred to as an inner child or child consciousness. In essence, it is one or more coping strategies that we have developed as children to guard against relational loss. And most people are not conscious of that. But if you reflect on your reactions, and especially if you find yourself overreacting, you'll discover that the overreaction is not caused by the outer circumstances that you face in your life right now. It's caused by activating an old wound in you from your youth. So how this goes in the big scheme of things is that as a child, we all have developmental needs. Not just the need for warmth and shelter, nourishment and being looked after physically, but also emotional needs and the need for connection, for being seen for who we truly are. And when we grow older, we need to develop our own autonomy. And of course, we need to be supported in that. So at every stage developmentally, we have a primary need. And if it is not met, it forces us into a protective reaction. And that protective strategy that we adopt helps us keep the relationship with our parents or caregivers. But it costs us a lot. We effectively abandon a part of ourselves. In my previous video, I dealt with what happens when our parents are unable to connect with us. We end up abandoning our need to connect to ourselves and to others. We lose contact with our feelings. And although we desperately long for connection, we cannot safely connect. I will link the video in the description if that sounds like you. But in this video, we're considering why we reject our own needs. So why do we only see the needs of others and are usually compelled almost incessantly to satisfy the needs of others and feel unable to express our own needs? Here, the same mechanism is at work. Environmental failure and effectively our parents being unable to properly attune to our needs as children has led the child, you, to disconnect from your own needs. And this is how it works. The child has a natural expectation of having their needs met. If they do not get met, the child would protest, and if this happens time and again, this inner turmoil would become unbearable for the child. And the child's solution to this problem is an adaptation. It is my fault for having needs. I must suppress my needs in order to preserve the attachment bond with you. And this, of course, does not happen consciously, but it's an unconscious reaction to the circumstances that the child finds itself in. The primary need is to have an attachment bond with the parents. After all, we're all dependent on them for our survival as children. But the price is very high. We learn to disconnect from our needs and even feel bad for having them at all. Maybe even feeling bad for taking any space at all. So if you are constantly prioritizing the needs of others, it's an unconscious mechanism of keeping an attachment bond. And if you're ignoring or not even being aware that you have needs of your own, that's a very logical developmental adaptation to the circumstances of your early life. This, of course, has an intergenerational aspect. Your parents were most likely not able to meet your needs because of their own trauma. But the crucial thing here to realize is that this over-caring for others and ignoring yourself is not something you have to feel guilty about or ashamed about. it is something that has really served you as a child by making sure that you were connected to your parents as much as it was possible. So the first step is to realize that you have this survival strategy. The second is observing it in your reactions when it gets triggered. And the third is being kind to yourself in the moments when you observe these survival strategies rising to the surface. The self-criticism, shame, self-judgment that usually come together in a package with this disconnection from your feeling and expressing your own needs have developed to protect you in early life. As a child, you cannot contemplate that it may be your environment, your attachment figures that are not meeting your needs. It is much easier to internalize this failure as yours. Yourself is defective for having needs. You are the one at fault, because with this, there is still hope of connection with your caregivers. So spend time with people who are curious and open and who have a genuine interest in you. Feel your needs in the present as they arise. And if you're tired, take a break, take a nap. Dare from time to time to say no and see how that goes. And experiment with expressing a need, however small it may be, and observe how it feels when others simply meet that need. And take time to take in the goodness of how that feels. It may feel very unfamiliar. Let me know how it goes and if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.